I got a DEXA scan, did a VO2 max test, did a coronary calcium score, did a liver ultrasound, had fatty liver disease, cholesterol, lipids were all screwed up. I was basically on my way to being that guy who gets his left foot chopped off because they couldn't control their diet and didn't exercise and did nothing to take care of themselves. And this was just me, regular professional guy, grad school, kids, whatever. And I was on that path and I didn't even know it. My sleep was completely disrupted. I had sleep apnea. I didn't know it. And he put me through these tests, and through my network of people, I knew some doctors, I knew some nutritionists, and I cobbled together over 6 months a plan based on this data. And I executed this plan to the T. And in 6 months, I had down to 12% body fat. I had cleared all of my lipids, cleared my sugars, cleared the blood pressure, reduced all the inflammation, reduced the visceral fat content, and was sleeping through the night. And I felt like $1 million. And I thought, all right, if a guy like me, of which there are many, as much as I like to think I'm special, there are a lot of dudes and women out there just like myself who would probably benefit from this type of service.
John, welcome to the show. I am so happy to have you here to talk about RebelHealth, but more than that, man, just give this audience some takeaways on health, wellness, prevention, the reality of the environment that we live in, and how a lot of, unfortunately, this unbelievable modern environment with all its blessings and its abundance, also, it kind of works against us in a lot of ways. And I want to talk to you about how to best operate in that scenario and just talk about kind of what RebelHealth is, how it started, and about you, brother. So with that little tee up, let's do the origin story. What's your background? Talk about RebelHealth, and then let's just geek out on some health and wellness, man.
Yeah, no doubt about it, Jason. Great to be here. Great to meet you. Appreciate you giving me the opportunity to speak with you and your audience. We've spent so much time thinking about what's going on in the universe, what's in our environment, what are all the factors leading to the explosion in obesity and metabolic disorders and just the general decline of health in a time at which we should be optimizing across the board. We live in a time of abundance and technology's never been better. And there's just so many opportunities to make things right. There's something obviously going on, and I'll get to the origin story, but you just really kind of triggered me on something. I mean, we've been trying to analyze like why, what is going on? Is it sugar? Well, I don't know. If you look at the charts, the sugar consumption's actually gone down over time. Is it the carbon insulin model? Is there something in the environment? One study that I saw recently that really, really sent me down a rabbit hole was like, not only are humans gaining weight, but their domestic animals are gaining weight, and the wild animals that live nearby them are also gaining weight. So there could be something in the environment and the clothes and the food and the air and the water. Who knows what it is? But what we do know is that there are answers, there are solutions, and there are obviously people out there today that have made changes to their life and lifestyle and put things as a priority in their life. Look at the two of us. We're obviously, I don't know about you, but I'm 50 years old, and I can honestly say that I feel better today than I did 10 years ago. And even 20 years ago, thinking back on my poor lifestyle choices when I was a young professional in my 30s, going out to dinner and drinking martinis and eating crap food and not exercising all the time. I can run farther, faster, lift more, look better, am leaner now today than I have been ever in my life at age 50. And it's possible for other people out there. So how did we get here? I've always been interested in health and wellness. I was a high school athlete. I was an amateur kickboxer in my 30s. I did CrossFit for a long time. I lifted, but all that kind of fell apart, and like you get kids and then you get businesses and then life takes over. And before you know it, you wake up and you're 40, 50, 60 pounds overweight. And I'll say this to most people listening, and unless you can really see your abs, you're probably 30 or 40 pounds overweight, and you're probably 30 or 40 pounds more overweight than you think that you are.
Yep.
Just as a side note. And I woke up one day in my mid 40s feeling like crap every day, Jason. And I thought to myself, man, if I'm 45, 46, this is how I feel waking up. And this is my energy level today. What is it going to be like at 55, 65? God bless if I make it to 70, 75, 80. This is my peak health. waking up feeling like crap every single day. And I thought I had been doing things right. I thought I was eating right. I thought I was lifting right. Turns out I had a friend who was involved in the genetics space at the time. And he introduced me to these ideas of functional medicine and comprehensive lab testing, which I had never come across before. Because, of course, just like most of us, going to my primary care doctor, getting a 7-minute visit every year, getting the standard blood panel, him being like, oh, this is high and that's high, but that's fine. Let's keep an eye on it. Or here's a pill for it, whatever. See you in a year. He put me through such a battery of tests, my friend, that I discovered that I was pre-diabetic, that I had 5 pounds of visceral fat wrapped around my organs, causing all kinds of inflammation. I was like 30% body fat when I swore to you that I was like, I'm just a few pounds overweight, right? Because I got a DEXA scan, did a VO2 max test, did a coronary calcium score, did a liver ultrasound, had fatty liver disease, cholesterol, lipids were all screwed up. I was basically on my way to being that guy who gets his left foot chopped off because they couldn't control their diet and didn't exercise and did nothing to take care of themselves. And this was just me, regular professional guy, grad school, kids, whatever. And I was on that path and I didn't even know it. My sleep was completely disrupted. I had sleep apnea. I didn't know it. And he put me through these tests, and through my network of people, I knew some doctors, I knew some nutritionists, and I cobbled together over 6 months a plan based on this data. And I executed this plan to the T. And in 6 months, I had down to 12% body fat. I had cleared all of my lipids, cleared my sugars, cleared the blood pressure, reduced all the inflammation, reduced the visceral fat content, and was sleeping through the night. And I felt like $1,000,000. And I thought, all right, if a guy like me, of which there are many, as much as I like to think I'm special, there are a lot of dudes and women out there just like myself who would probably benefit from this type of service. And that's when we decided to come to market at the beginning of 2023, right before the explosion in optimization longevity. We launched right when Peter Attia's Outlive book was coming out. And this was before Function Health or Superpower or all these other companies that have rushed into the market. And so we're kind of pioneers in this space. Full spectrum analysis, full spectrum coaching, full spectrum medical care, comprehensive 360 planning. And we can get you from good to great to AAA plus and beyond in the shortest, straightest line possible.
I love it. And man, you just talk about a triggering thought. You reminded me whenever you had that DEXA done, dude. I did the same thing, man. And here I'm hitting the gym every day. And back then, I looked like one of those guys that you knew there was some muscle under there somewhere, but it also looked like I'd been stung by a bunch of bees. But I shaved my arms, so I had to be lean, right? I mean, God, I was so gross looking. It was just ridiculous. And I go in and I'm at 26% body fat, and I was so pissed at my doctor. I was like, wait, no, whoa, no freaking way. I am 26% body fat. And she goes, well, that's really not that bad. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me right now? That's not that bad. Dude, I was so angry and pissed. And then one weekend I'd been at my parents' house, and so I'm probably like I'm a big no alcohol guy. I just finally said it just doesn't blend with what I want to do, and it's not scruples or anything. It's just for me. I said I'm not. But before that, my family. I come from a big family of drinkers. Hanging out, drinking beer by the pool all day. That was kind of like how my dad and I bonded. And I'd had one of those days, and I came back home. And I look in the mirror and I took a picture of it, John. I still have it, dude. And I'm like, what the hell has happened to me? Again, I'm still working out every day. I'm still training, but no discipline, no still living like, well, if I work out, I can out-train my diet, which we know is crap. Not focusing on the things that matter most, like cellular health, VO2 max, all these things that really play a part in. I was just so freaking pissed. So anyway, yeah. So this is about you.
It's a rude awakening when people get that DEXA scan, because they'll get the at-home like bioimpedance scale, and it'll say one thing, and they can stand there in the mirror and kind of hold it in a little bit and be like, "Honey, do I still look good?" And she's like, "Of course you do, honey. You look great."
Yep.
And then you get that DEXA scan, man. And I'll never forget the first time I got one and it came back at 30. And I looked at the operator and I was like, dude, 30%, really? And he gives me this look. He goes, yeah, yep,
Yep.
probably.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's like a ego blow. But what it is most importantly is a testament to the power that data
Yep.
has in drawing our attention to the problems. You're analyzing your business and you're like, I have less cash each month than when I started. I have a cash flow problem. What am I going to do? I drill down, I figure it out. That what gets measured gets managed is like an old business adage. It applies to your health and data as well, or to your health and wellness as well. And starting there, we get everybody in RebelHealth a DEXA scan. And I'll tell you, there are very few people that come back from that experience being like, hell yeah, nailed that. That's exactly what I thought it was, man. And it also highlights the visceral fat content and just it highlights the need for change. And something else that you said that really stood out to me just now about the sort of the culture of drinking
Mm-hmm.
and alcohol consumption. Half my family is Irish. You go to Christmas parties, everybody's drunk. You go to a funeral, everybody's drunk. Everybody's just drinking constantly all the time. There's fruit punch with alcohol in it next to the beer. And, I didn't stop drinking 100%. I drank a little bit on Christmas, drank a little bit on my birthday, but I drink so infrequently now that what I can see is terrifying.
Yeah.
When I drink, I'm 220, I gain 10 pounds.
Yeah.
And I gain 10 pounds because my body is inflamed
Mm-hmm.
because I've ingested a poison, basically. And it takes a week for my body to process that extra fluid retention.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes me think about the times when I used to drink a couple glasses of wine at night, whatever, a couple cocktails, happy hour, 3-4 times a week, no big deal. You're just living in a constantly inflamed, bloated state, and you just have no idea what's going on there. And so now, man, I five times a year, 6-7 times a year, maybe. And then I regret it every time. And then it's just, I go weeks and months without it. But, look, to each their own on all of that. But if you want to make serious progress with your health and you want clear signals about your HRV and your resting heart rate and your body fat percentage and your weight, alcohol is just obscuring all of that, aside from the fact that it becomes the primary source of fuel when you drink. And then you're not burning fat. And like the list is just endless. That being said, I do like beer. Beer tastes good. And I like the way it makes my head feel sometimes.
Yeah, I'm telling you, dude. I'm not gonna lie. I love my Lagavulin. I love a good Scotch and
Oh, yeah.
and beer and and actually I'm going to be talking to. He's been on the show before, Nayan Patel, who is the founder of RebelHealth and created Glutaril. The topical. He's the guy who holds the IP on the topical administration of glutathione. And I remember from his conversation that we had the last time, learning about how alcohol will just completely tank your glutathione levels, which is the body's master antioxidant and all this stuff. And I'm glad we're having this conversation. Again, folks, neither John nor I are saying, don't drink. But the bottom line is, if you think you're drinking and because you're drinking vodka and it has no carbs, or you're drinking Scotch, it has no carbs, there's no sugar. And so you switch to liquor from beer because that's going to solve for the conundrum of can I drink or can't I? No, there's way more to it. John's point, you're going to end up, burning a lot of sugar first, and so that's just a sidebar. All right, so and I want to talk about some of the metrics as far as somebody comes into a Rebel Health office, and I love this. You and I are so aligned on this. Like, I own a nutraceutical company, and people will say, listen to a podcast. Should I take NAC? Should I take creatine? Should I take this? I'm like, well, I don't know. What are your blood results? What are you deficient in? I mean, yes, we have a foundational stack that 80% of the people that walk through my physician business partners doors, that's gonna definitely solve for a lot. But even then, you got to get precise. So you talk about the metrics, and so this audience knows, just to give them the idea of, well, okay, I should go get on a DEXA. What other benchmarks should they go ahead and establish, John, to kind of get an understanding of where they are, so then they can figure out where the heck they're going?
Right. So in our practice, we like to say that we create the most comprehensive dossier on your health ever assembled. another line we like to use is we map your entire biological terrain. So we're going to start off with a DNA test. We test for 800,000 SNPs and generate a 170-page report. That's nothing to do with like your ancestry, right? This is how you process nutrients, your reaction to certain toxicants, disease predisposition, ideal sleep windows, things like this, ideal exercises, preferred diet, what kind of muscle fibers do you have? What kind of VO2 type activities are going to work best for you? What's your ideal sleep window? All these things are contained in our DNA, and they're not your destiny, but the goal is to maximize your expression, your beneficial expression of your DNA through lifestyle changes and the things that you do. So the epigenetics, right? So we optimize your epigenetics there. We're going to do the most comprehensive blood work you've ever had. We dust function, we dust superpower. Sorry, guys. It's just the most comprehensive thing. And we're digging multiple layers deep, markers that look into the past, markers that look at today, markers that look into the future. And we do a full assessment, body scan, obviously the full DEXA. We do coronary calcium scoring for some, CT angiogram for many, and a VO2 max test. And with this, we can get a really good sense of where you are, right? From the inside out. And then that's when we start building, right? So the physician is in charge of the whole team. Everybody gets a certified strength and conditioning coach, a registered board certified dietitian, a genetics counselor, clinical specialist, what we call our health butler to help you, acquire and make appointments and things. And your dietitian's reading your blood work and genetics to make a dietary recommendation after talking to your strength coach to find out what your strength plan is, who's talking to your physician when we're trying to figure out how, do we need to change body composition or what is the glucose and sugar situation like? And this collaboration really solves a problem that we've discovered is just a huge thing in our audience. There's 3 phases as far as I can tell people going through this health optimization process. Phase one, you're in the traditional healthcare system. You're stuck. You maybe not even know what's better for you. You can't get out. You're dealing with your typical primary care. And I'm sorry, God bless, I can't do much for you until you're ready to make a change. 2, there's where a lot of people are right now. I've got this blood test. I got this DNA test. I take this supplement. I tried TRT from this clinic over here. I was thinking about tirzepatide over here. I had a personal trainer for a little bit. My primary doctor's over here. I was referred to a cardiologist. Now what they've done is, and not to mention listening to Peter Attia podcasts, watching Andrew Huberman, reading all the books, reading all the articles, getting advertisements on every other reel on Instagram. Because I know all of you guys like me and you, I'm assuming you have kids, am I on Instagram? Of course I'm on Instagram. My daughter's sending me reels every single day. I got to be on Instagram. And I look on there and then all of a sudden I'm scrolling and now I'm getting ads. So in phase 2, you've got you're trying, you're doing your best. You're talking, you're doing all, but now you've inadvertently created healthcare overhead. You now have like a whole thing you got to manage and you're like the quarterback of this program. You're in charge. You're the one where all the data is flowing into you and you're synthesizing and you're putting into action and you're making adjustments along the way. Phase 3 is where we come in, where you hire your health board of directors, your COO for your health, and you offload this to us where we have the whole centralized package where we understand everything inside and out, family history, manage your primary care, know your DNA, know your strength workouts, know how much you can bench, how many push-ups you can do, what you're eating, what supplements you're taking, what your goals are you training for something? And in this environment of instant access, unlimited visits, direct messaging with your doctor, we'll call you at 9 p.m. if you got an issue. In this environment, this is where you offload that cognitive burden to somebody else. They do the thinking and the implementing and not the implementing. They do the thinking and the directing and the coaching. And then all you got to do is just follow the program. And if you have any questions or anything, you just direct message, contact us, have a video call, phone call, DM, email, whatever you prefer. And you get things tweaked and adjusted. And we can talk about a little bit how I use the program as the CEO, the old hair club thing. I'm not just the president, I'm a member.
Right.
It really applies here too. And it's got me in optimal condition. And I use the service in the same exact way as anybody else, any one of our members does.
I love it, man. And so let's talk a little bit about that, like how you interface with the actual service. Like, is it app based, or am I doing like coaching calls on like through Zoom? Is there like a behavioral science aspect to it? Like Jason Wright signs up, I go do all my testing, I get on the, I don't know what the modality is. You guys are using a bike or a tread for that dreaded VO2 max test, but I've got on the DEXA, I've done my VO2 max test, you've done some blood work, and now I've hired that board of directors. Now, how do I interface like on a, kind of like the standard, like every day, other than the emergency type to like, oh gosh, I'm traveling to Europe. I feel sick. I need you guys to help boost my immune system. But on a daily, weekly, however it works, John, how am I interfacing with the team?
Yeah. So our typical customer member is 35, 40 to 55, 60,
Mhm.
professional, family oriented, busy, small business, CEO, lawyer, investment banker. These are busy people. But then we also have a lot of spouses and wives as well. Not to say that they're not busy, but it's a little different in profile. And the way that we do this is we're trying to optimize your entire optimization process. And so we're not trying to drag you down to the office and make you sit there for a half hour and then come in and what, like traffic and parking. No, everything is virtual. So we're doing initial visits via Zoom, just like this, which we've all become very accustomed to. Uh, we can do phone calls, we can do emails, we can do direct message. What we have found, the cadence that works with most people, is we do initial welcome call, then we do all our initial visits over video, and then from there we do usually quarterly check-ins on video, but it's the direct messaging. Imagine having direct, unfettered access to Cleveland Clinic trained physicians that specialize in optimization and longevity that are certified by the Institute for Functional Medicine. That's what we offer. And you can literally just text them every single day if you want. And we have members that text them every single day. You have a group chat with your doctor, your strength coach, your dietitian, your genetic counselor, and your clinical specialist, all in the same place. So everybody is all on the same page all the time. You're not repeating yourself to anybody. You basically have a high-powered, high-powered healthcare service in your phone with you everywhere you go at all times. You are at your house in North Carolina, you're traveling in Washington, D.C., you're on vacation, doesn't matter. We're always there, right there with you. And in today's age, man, who's got time for in-person appointments, driving, parking, scheduling? We just fit it in. You got 6 other Zooms today, right? You just fit it in at 2:00. No transaction costs, no time lost, no nothing. And one of the key components of our deal is it's unlimited. You talk to us every single day if you want. Please, the people that use the service more than others get the best results, highest level engagement. So we welcome you to use the service all the time. I have weekly check-ins with my entire team. I talk to them every single day, generally speaking. I've got a strength coach, an endurance coach. I've got my doctor. I've got my physical therapist. I've got the dietitian, everybody in the same spot. They know where we are in my training protocol for my marathons. They know where my PT issues are. My dietitian is adjusting my macros and the contents of my micros in conjunction with my blood work, and my doctor is overseeing everything. I absolutely love the service as an end user myself. And I know that when people engage, they just get tremendous life-changing results.
I love it. Now, when it comes to the blood work, are you like partnered with Prodrone or somebody? Are you sending out kits? People are getting a network of phlebotomists come into your house, do it, and then send in the results. How's that working?
Yeah, so we have a couple of options. We have negotiated wholesale pricing with Quest.
Mhm.
So our lab panel is $450. If you bill it through insurance, it's like $5,000. And if you try to pay cash on your own, it's like $1,500. So we've negotiated wholesale pricing. It's $450. Go to any Quest in America. We can also set up at-home phlebotomy for you. We have found that the at-home phlebotomist is the weakest link in the whole
Yep.
thing, because they're subcontractor, and you just have difficulty with quality control down your supply chain there. And it irritates me to no end to have the lack of brand consistency and like the high touch service that we really provide. And I joke with, my colleagues that like one day we're going to start a at-home phlebotomy service to just like to solve this problem. I mean, I'd love to be vertically integrated in every which way so that everybody has like the unified high touch concierge, premium service that we're offering. But we do the DNA test, send home swab. We call down to whatever center we need to find by you for DEXA VO2. For me personally, I use like the George Washington University Exercise Science Department. Every major university or college has exercise science department where they have this equipment, generally just sitting vacant, and they love having people come in and use it. Plus, there's companies popped up all over the place. Fitnessity is one that I know of that does VO2 and DEXA at retail centers all over. But if you can't find it, we find it for you. It's part of the Health Butler service. And yeah, so if you want to get together and build a at-home phlebotomy service that meets our standards, let me know.
It's funny you say that, John. That's exactly where the first time I ever did an at-home testing protocol, that's where the breakdown was for me. It was the scheduling was stupid. That I was like, I want to say 10 miles out of their service radius, which meant an extra like $13, which I could have cared less. But instead of like communicating that to me in an effective way, they just didn't show up. Said, well, you had to agree to pay more. I'm like, when was it? It was silly. It was the exact same. So what you said, you are literally preaching to the choir on that, dude. I mean, because everything else is great. We were using Quest and Prodrome for the different tests we were doing, and some others for the DNA testing. But when it came to the blood panel, man, yeah, that the phlebotomist was the deal. And that's why whenever I saw Peter Diamandis doing his thing, I was like, how do you solve for that? Because it's just those, that to me is the toughest one in that supply chain deal. But all right, so let me ask you this. All right, so you get to see a lot of things. Oh, well, before I get to that question, with the ongoing interaction, are you using any wearable data to kind of track people? Like, let's talk about that a little bit, and then I'll go to the next thing I was going to ask, because that was something I was curious about.
Yeah, 100%. So we've got a dashboard that connects to your Apple Health app or your Google Health app. It also connects via API to Garmin and Aura and a few others. Whoop doesn't like to play too friendly with the open API, so we figured out a hack for that to have it come through the health app. And so, yeah, the dashboard brings in all of your wearable data. So we know how much you slept, what your resting heart rate was, what your HRV was. We've also connected with MyFitnessPal, and we'll also load in all of your blood work. It goes straight from Quest right into the dashboard. So in one place, you and our providers can see how did you sleep, how much did you eat, what your resting heart rate was, exactly what your macro breakdowns were, what your blood work was in January, in June, and in October, how that's tracking over time. And we have it all readily accessible, and you can see it as well. It's really nice to have that all in one place. The wearable data is huge because it can tell stories that you don't necessarily know to tell to your provider.
Mm-hmm.
We can analyze your sleep architecture. We can see why is your resting heart rate on average gone, up into the 70s or even the 80s, like what's going on. I mean, we don't monitor it like every day to make sure, but when we have your sessions, we can look at the historical data. And then, depending on your level of like performance orientation. So for me, for example, I'm training for a marathon in the fall, and my resting heart rate and HRV data every morning is really important. So I wake up, put on the strap, do my HRV testing, goes right into the app, right into the Apple Health app, right into my dashboard. And then my endurance coach and I, in our team, we use those signals as whether to push or to pull back on our training load. And the dietitian's looking at that, and the doctor's looking at that. And it's through the data that you really get to the precision healthcare that is the N of one. That is just for you. We're all so different. Our lifestyles are so different. Our diets are so different. Our genetic makeup is different. Some people will do great on keto. Other people will fast track themselves to dementia on keto. And so, I always hate hearing people just go out there and say keto is the answer to everything. Actually, a good portion of people listening to your podcast telling you keto is great for everything, you're leading them to like dementia, like on a super highway by doing that. So we're all about N of one. And so we want as much data as we possibly can so that we can refine it as quickly as possible. The shortest, straightest line to your health optimization and then ongoing maintenance. And so, yeah, wearable data, 100%. I mean, personally, I've gone through every iteration of Whoop. I've got the Garmin. I've got the Garmin at-home scale. I got the Hume at-home body scanner thing, which works. It's okay. And it's been eye-opening, and truly it was the Whoop first iteration of Whoop that really clued me into the alcohol impact on my life. And I think that there's a million people who had that same revelation.
Oh yeah. Whenever you see your readiness score after having some cocktails, it's like, what the heck? I feel fine. And that's something too that the data tells you is like, just because you think you feel fine, and it doesn't mean you have to agree with the data. Doesn't mean that just because you have, like, when I wake up with a readiness score of 75 on my Oura ring, doesn't mean I'm just going to not do anything that day. But it can, if you start to use the data right, it should be a strong suggestion as to how you go through your day. And it's really cool. Now, what about continuous glucose monitors? Are you interfacing with any CGMs as well?
Yeah, 100%. We've used a few different models. Recently, Levels has just reached out to us and they want to do a partnership with us.
Nice.
We've got a dashboard. We can see the CGM data. There are so many wrappers around the core CGM technology that we just now prescribe. Like, I can't remember the name now, but it's the base technology that everybody else's was wrapped around. Something COM, I think it's
Dexcom.
called. Dexcom, yeah. Everybody just took a Dexcom, wrapped a piece of software around it, and was like, "Look at our new healthcare product." Actually, no, it's really just a box.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not calling out Levels or anything on that, but maybe I did. But we see CGM stuff work effectively. Personally, my use with the CGM, I definitely didn't need it long term. Don't really recommend it long term. You really only need it a couple of months to see what happens.
Yep.
See what happens when you drink. See what happens when you eat certain foods. And really the biggest takeaway I had from the CGM was get up off your butt and walk around after you eat. It is the fastest, quickest way to clear the blood sugars, get things back to normal. The technical term is postprandial ambulation, also known as let's take a walk.
Yep.
Let's go digest, right?
Yep.
And so it's powerful. I mean, we don't sell supplements, we don't sell labs, we don't sell tests, we don't sell products, we don't sell anything other than our membership. So we are best in class, third party, whatever we think works. We have access to 3,000 tests. We can order anything. We do the Grail blood cancer screening test. We do CT angiograms. We do the Clearly. We do Prenuvo. We do any and all of it. Gut biome tests, at home stool testing, like whatever you need. Whereas a lot of our like competitors, I'll use that in quotes, really just front ends to sell you whatever product that they've manufactured, whether you need it or not. And, you can tell if that's where you are, if what you're paying for seems really cheap.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden you're, got a whole box full of their branded stuff in your house and you don't know why you're taking any of it. But we know that we've left money on the table with that, but it was really important for us to really just, the only thing people pay us for is the membership, and the membership covers unlimited access to the whole team, all the analysis and all the coaching and support. And all of our advice is 100% just focused on whatever we think is best for you.
I think that's fantastic. And now the question I was going to ask before is, so now that you've seen so much data in the aggregate, we talked a little bit about, like, you and I, we went through it, and you and I are the same age, by the way. I'm 50 as well, be 51 next month. And whenever I learned that I was 26% body fat, I told you I was ready to freaking run head on into traffic and just, it was terrible. But like, what are some of the other things like I'm thinking skinny fat. I'm thinking that people don't understand, they look healthy, but they don't understand how stress is impacting their life. What are some of the other things, because you've got this massive treasure trove of data now that this listening audience right now that has never done any of these tests might really open their eyes to the true picture of their health?
Yeah. So there is what I call the casual obese, right? And man, go out in the world and just take a look and see every dude whose belly you can see, even just a little bit, like really underneath, there's a lot. And I call that the casually obese. They just, whatever, I lose 20 pounds at some point, even though it's really, really fit.
The dad bod, just that's kind of the typical dad bod.
Dude, and it's guys, you and me, like our age.
Exactly.
You know, you go to your kid's game of any
Yeah.
kind, and there they are. Much less go to like an amusement park or like a sporting event. Holy cow.
Yeah.
And then you know, there's the skinny fat. There's the people who appear to be slender but have absolutely no muscle mass underneath, and the rest of it is fat, and so they have no place for their sugars and carbs to go when they eat anything, and they're constantly inflamed, and they're pre-diabetic, and they don't know it, even though because they're skinny and they think that they're in good shape. They maybe don't even eat that much, but they've slowed their metabolism down so much, and they have such little muscle mass that they don't. And they're like, "Oh, I'm only eating 1,000 calories a day. Why do I continue to feel like crap?" Maybe that's part of it. You know, and there's, you know, I hate to come back to the alcohol thing again because I don't want to talk about it too much, but we have seen time and time again, I just don't understand why I'm not feeling well. I eat right and I do this and I do that. Well, lady, it's the 3 glasses of wine every night. And that's one of the last things that people are willing to let go of in many cases. And then in terms of that's letting go, everybody knows about the food, right? Everybody knows you didn't eat the cake and the cookies and the sugars and the sodas and the whatever. Tracking, if you've never tracked before, is really important because you think you just took one snack, but actually you ate 4 servings of that thing, right? And that's like 700 calories. You're like, oh, I just had a couple cookies. Well, actually you had 4 cookies and each cookie was 150 calories, and that's 600 calories. And if you do that every single day, that's a pound a week. That's 50 extra pounds a year just by absentmindedly eating a couple more cookies than you thought. But in terms of that's taking away, in terms of adding, the thing that people maybe don't really understand or are less interested in doing right off the bat, one, for women, a lot of times is lifting weights. You've got to build the muscle mass. And in order to build the muscle mass, you've got to eat the protein. And you got to eat enough calories that you're in some level of surplus or close enough that you can actually grow muscle mass and change your body composition, because you can only lose so much fat. You got to build the muscle. The other one, and we still deal with this all the time, and it's a hot button topic on Twitter all the time too, which is got to do your cardio respiratory training.
Yep.
You know, whether or not it's the VO2 max indicator itself is the indicator for longevity, or it's your 5K performance time, or it's how many steps that you get, or how many METs that you engage in every, metabolic energy, whatever it is, units of energy that you exercise energy, whatever the metric is, the science is absolutely starkly clear. The more you move, the longer you're going to live. Period. End of story. Yeah, some jerk on Twitter is going to be like, oh, well, there's that study that shows ultra runners have a higher incidence of calcification, whatever. Okay, yeah, but look at the definition. That's like guys running like 250-mile races or whatever. You're never going to get there. And even if you do, you're going to know that you're going to get there and you're going to be prepared for it. It's kind of like when people come to the gym and they're like, oh, I don't want to get too bulky. Okay, good luck with that, guy, right? It takes a lot of effort to get bulky, right?
Right.
So it's the move. You got to move. And you can't necessarily outrun a bad diet, although in my marathon training, I definitely am. But nobody else, you're not running 50 miles a week if you're a normal guy. So you got to lift, you got to move, and you got to eat reasonably. And if you do that, that's just like the core that's going to carry you so much farther than all of your peers and everyone else. And that is why our program, our high performance healthcare program, has a strength coach, has an endurance coach, and has a dietitian, because food is medicine, movement is medicine, and muscle will save your life. So the cardiorespiratory thing, whether it's running, walking, biking, cycling, swimming, hiking, rucking, whatever you want to call it. And by the way, lifting weights is not cardio. No matter what anybody wants to tell you, no matter how many lies you've told yourself, just because your heart rate is elevated when you're lifting, or you're huffing and puffing at the end of a set, or you do a circuit, it's still not the same cardio respiratory exercise that we're talking about when we say cardio, because that's an aerobic thing that's constitute on blood flow, Whereas when your heart rate goes up from lifting, that is from stress and that is from increased blood pressure because you're trying to like build a base so you can lift the thing. It is not the same. Your heart rate from lifting is not cardio. Sorry if I sound like I'm getting off on a rant. This has been like one of the hottest topics on my social media profile for weeks now. And you'll always get people be like, oh, well, my heart rate is up after I do my little weight circuit. No, you have to have extended time periods where the blood is flowing and you have open aerobic activity so you can remodel your heart to pump more and more efficiently. End of rant. Cardio.
I'm with you, brother. I love that rant. All I can say is amen. I mean, and that's the thing too. And another thing too that you brought up there that I'm so glad you went into the strength component because it is one of those things you hear people say, you nailed it. Oh, I don't want to get bulky. Come on. And that's the thing, my buddy Joel Green, that's one of the things he always talks about when people talk about stuff like that. He calls it baby talk. And it's because people don't really understand. It's not, you can't just kind of distill everything down. It's so reductive to say that, well, lifting weights is all about just building muscle. Cardiovascular work is just about, your ability to absorb oxygen. No, there's the cognitive ability, there's the balance, there's the bone density, there is that clearing of glucose. It's this machine. And that's why I love what you guys are doing, because if people that have never really dug into their health and this unbelievable miracle of a machine that is the human body, then they do just reduce it down to those very simplistic terms instead of coming in where you guys are. And I love that, to look at that dashboard and go, holy crap, I've now been lifting weights for the first time in my life for the last 90 days. And look how that's impacting my glucose scores and impacting all these other metrics that really go well beyond just getting bigger. And that's the thing too. We talk to the audience a little bit about how, because we've talked a lot about body fat and obesity, and those people out there like, well, crap, if I do something that Jason and John are talking about, I got to go on a diet and I can't eat. Well, if you start doing some weight training and some resistance training, to me, and I like to get your take on this, to me, the thing that I took for granted for so long was that I thought, well, I got to go do a crap ton of cardio to lower my body fat percentage, until I became emaciated about 7 years ago because I was doing hardly any resistance training, a crap ton of cardio. And then I started incorporating regular resistance training in, and dude, man, that is where I saw my body fat percentage go to levels that I'd never seen it before. So talk a little bit about how important that strength training is for the body fat.
All right, before I get to that, I want to touch on one thing that you said, which was the cognitive improvements that you get. Cardiorespiratory aerobic exercise is clinically proven time and time again to increase your cognitive ability. 100%. It is proven to increase your short-term, in the moment cognitive horsepower. It is also proven in the long term to improve your memory and recall. If for any other reason, everyone's biggest fear is turning into a demented vegetable in their old age. For that reason alone, just get out there and run or jog or hike or rock or cycle or swim or erg or row or whatever it is to save your brain first. And then the rest of it works itself out. Now on the muscle side, one of the things that I discovered in this whole journey that really blew my mind is that muscle is actually part of your endocrine system. It is not simply the thing that makes your bones move, pulling on the tendons, right? When you engage in resistance training, your muscles release these little tiny cells that have like micro RNA in them, and those fly around your body and go into the fat cells and then trigger lipolysis. Okay. So just by virtue of lifting the weight, you're sending a signal from your muscle to your fat to basically kill itself. I had no idea. They're called exomes. I had no idea that the muscle was actually part of the endocrine system and was an essential component in burning fat, but also an essential component in giving a place for your sugars to go. Right. So like everybody that comes into the practice that needs help is generally insulin resistant. What does that mean? It means that they've eaten so much sugar and things are all out of whack that your body just doesn't know what to do with the sugar in the blood. It's not being shuttled properly. right? And when you can get yourself into insulin sensitivity by giving yourself a place for the glucose to go, you can eat carbs. In fact, you can eat carbs and fuel your exercise and your workout in a very healthy way. You eat the carbs, the insulin comes, the glucose goes to the muscles, and you have energy. Like, it is the preferred source of energy, right? And so there's so many wide-reaching benefits to weightlifting that you'll get the benefits from weightlifting that we've described, the endocrine benefits, the fat burning benefits, the cognitive benefits, the mental emotional benefits, the stress management benefits, the I accomplished something benefits, the confidence benefits, before you ever see the body composition changes where you're like, man, I'm jacked. Like, you're going to get all those benefits way before you have done enough time in the gym with the iron to actually build muscle that's noticeable by other people. And so when people say, I don't want to get too bulky, first of all, there are people that have to take anabolic drugs to get too bulky.
Right.
You're not going to get there without stuffing your face full of food and lifting 4 and 5 times a week. You are never going to get there, but you're going to get all the benefits even before you start to be like, oh, look at me, I am jacked now. And you don't have to be jacked. Like, yeah, there's like media images around people being very muscular and whatever, and Henry Cavill and Superman and Thor and whatever, Chris Hemsworth. Funny thing about Chris Hemsworth is when he's not filming, he's like, he shrinks down a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And if you watch the Limitless thing that he did in National Geographic, you can see that he is nowhere near as bulky as he is in his movies. And when he's got a shirt on, you're not looking at it like a Hulk, right? So you don't need to be a bodybuilder to benefit from lifting weights. Your 75-year-old mother needs to be lifting weights. And I hammer my own mom about it all the time. I bought her the 2-pound weights, and then I bought her the 3-pound weights, and then I bought her the 4-pound weights. And I've got her doing step-ups at home and banded pull-aparts, and just, you got to do it for all the reasons that we laid out way before the physique stuff even becomes a question.
Yeah. I'm so glad you said that. Talking about mothers, I had done an episode, man, it was like a year ago. And my mom, she had a stroke, and before her stroke, she just refused to work out at all and would not do any resistance training. And in this episode, I made the point that if you get over the age of 65 or whatever that number is, and you're in the bottom quartile on VO2 max and strength and all these different metrics, you fall and break a hip, break a femur, you are not only do you have like a 40% chance of dying within the next 12 months, but there's I want to say it's like 60 to 80% chance of never returning to full function. It's awful if you're in bad shape and you have the fall in the old age. And brother, I'll be danged if my mom about a year later broke her femur. And I had forgotten that I even did the episode. And my little brother, who was trying to coach her back into some better health, he sent her that particular episode. I had not even listened to it. And so, I usually don't go back and listen to them after I record them. And of all things, she had broken her femur. And man, my oldest daughter is about to get married. John, I'm about to pay for my first wedding. Thank you, brother. I don't know if you've got girls or not, but
21 and 13.
Oh, fasten your seatbelt, my man. It's brutal. It's brutal, but it's such a blessing too. And she's going to have to show up to the wedding in a wheelchair. And they're saying they don't know if she'll ever walk again. And so it's just like, for the folks listening to what John is saying here, let's do this. This is one of the things I want to do before I let you go, John. Before people decide, okay, I need something like RebelHealth. That's to me, that's the all in. And I'm like, to you and I, it's like no brainer. If you're not doing something like this to keep yourself accountable, to make sure that you've got these benchmarks and these KPIs for your health, it makes sense. But some of these people out there like, I don't know if I want to do all that. How can I at home right now, look in the mirror, doing a little at-home VO2 max, like the walking test? What are some things that some people could do right now just to kind of get their own little gauge of kind of, here's where I am, as a wake-up call, as just some sort of, I hear what Jason and John are talking about, but I'm not ready to go just dive into Rebel Health, how can they start to figure out where they are right now and then maybe think, well, I'm going to call you guys up for a consultation. I'm going to give you what I discovered at home, and then I want to get some feedback. What should folks do?
Sure. So in our practice, we service about half and half people that I would classify as like professional amateur athletes, right? Like guys that are riding their bikes, discipline, marathon training, good to great, people really trying to get completely optimized on their health all the way dialed in. We also service about half people that are in various phases of off the couch. Okay. And so, if you're the professional amateur, call us right now. We're ready to go. We'll take you, we'll get you qualified for Boston. We'll get you to Kona. We'll get you completely dialed in. In fact, we have an amazing announcement that may have already been, when is this being aired?
I'll put it out next week.
Next week?
Yeah.
All right. A two-time silver medal, Olympic silver medalist in the triathlon, maybe America's greatest endurance athlete, is announcing his partnership with us. He's joined our practice. We're going to help him get gold in LA 28. So
love it.
That's coming. Off the couch. Here's one you don't have to spend any money. You don't even have to do anything. It is a academic exercise. On a scale of 1 to 10, how nervous would you be if somebody came here right now and said, go run a mile?
It's a good one.
Dude, most people, if they're being honest about it, and they're like, wow, that actually would be really bad.
Yep.
That would be really bad if I had to go run a mile right now. Or here's another one. How excited would you be to be invited to a pool party right now? Not that excited, huh? Or another one of like, was there anything in my last doctor's visit where the doctor said, let's keep an eye on that? These are zero cost, baby.
They're freaking great, dude. You're making me feel like I'm getting kind of good at this interviewing thing. Those are amazing questions that I did not have in mind. I freaking love it. They're even simpler than what I would have thought. So amazing. Yes.
Yeah. Then, if you want to get into some level of like test it out, can you do 10 squats?
Yeah.
Can you get up off the ground without using your hands? When was the last time, if ever, you actually counted how many calories that you've consumed in a day? Here's another one. Would your kids come to you for advice on health and wellness?
Yeah.
Savage, right?
That
You
is.
think about that, because as the leader of your family, whether you're the mom or the dad, you're both leading. If you haven't set the tone for your family, have you built a legacy, a health legacy with your children? If you want a little bit more practical stuff, and I know we're coming up on time here, Jason, practical stuff, call Function, call Superpower. We get people from Function and Superpower all the time because they don't do medical care, right?
Mm-hmm.
Get the blood work done. See what happens. It's $350 or whatever. You get back a bunch of things in the red, maybe you got some work to do. I think those are some real easy ones right off the bat that you can get started. And that's like the entry point that we see so many people get into the sort of greater ecosystem that end up with a health overhead to manage and offload, and looking for us to be like the full team at the end of the road there.
I love that, man. And you're speaking my language whenever you're talking about being head of the household and talk about legacy. We a lot of times we'll talk about praying with our kids. We'll talk about their financial future. But and I agree with you. That's why I try to be that for my daughters. I've always tried to be that person to set the example. And when they come to me like, Dad, what should I do? How should I eat? One of my daughters was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. So that was a total game changer. So, and thank God, brother. And that's a good thing. I'm not patting myself on the back, but you parents out there, let me explain something to you. I had an unbelievable moment of relief whenever my youngest daughter was diagnosed at the age of 15 with type 1 diabetes. And she already understood the things that make your glucose spike. She understood the importance of movement. So it wasn't like this, yes, it's life-changing. It upends, especially for a teenager, it upends their life. But man, it was such a shorter distance to getting her to where she needed to be, because I had taught my girls the importance of, maintaining this unbelievable machine that God gave us that is, I believe, built in His image. And if you manage it properly, it's like and it's also to the audience out there, it's like an IRA. You don't have to just go have a soul crushing workout every day. It's just like what John is saying, just get up and move and just do it every single day. Make those little investments every single day, and the compounding effect will be dramatic. So I really I think that might've been the best question, dude, is just to help people figure out how they need you. I love that. That's fantastic.
You gotta lead the way with your kids, and it really starts at the top, and the examples that you set and the education that you give them. All three of my kids are athletes. My daughter rode at Alabama on scholarship. My son is in college pitching right now. My youngest is like on a travel volleyball team, and 13-year-old girl lifts with me in the gym every week, doing squats and deadlifts and RDLs and stuff. Every single one of them knows what a calorie is. Every single one of them knows what heart disease is, what insulin sensitivity is, why you got to move, all the things. And it started at the dinner table, and just them why are you doing that? Or, asking questions or leading by example. Or, some of my favorite videos that we have are me leading the kids working out in the front yard during COVID. In some ways, what a blessing that was to have the kids home for that time period. So many other ways that it was obviously one of the dumbest things, worst things ever. But having them at home and just leading them through workouts and teaching, I've taught all of them how to lift. My daughter gets to Alabama, and the strength coach uses her as an example in the weight room because she's got the best form of anybody on all the technical lifts. I was very, very proud of that. My son's like 6'4", 225, and just an absolute monster at 19 years old. It's nuts. But even if you're not leading your kids into being athletes, you got to lead your kids just by what you put on the table in front of them, what you stock the shelves in your cabinet and your pantry with, your attitudes towards sweets and desserts and snacks and treats, and how much are you drinking. They do what you do. They watch what you do. If you're pounding drinks every night, they're going to pound drinks every night. My whole house goes to sleep at 9:00. Everyone.
Love it.
And that's because dad's got to get up at 4:45 to get the run in. And I'm like, I'm going to bed. If anybody here wants to get tucked in, it's bedtime right now. And then the daughter runs upstairs, wife starts getting ready for bed, and now we all have fallen asleep at 9:00. So really, Jason, man, it is the classic thing. Like you got to lead the way in your family, mother or father, doesn't matter. You got to lead the way and leave that legacy. And if you're not doing it, imagine the consequences.
100%. When was your daughter at Alabama?
She left after last year.
Oh, okay. My daughter graduated from Bama 4 years ago.
Oh.
So roll Tide,
okay.
baby.
Oh yeah, roll Tide, baby. 100%. I don't know if I'm 100% down with the new coach just yet.
Oh, man, could you imagine trying to fill those 2 Grand Canyons of shoes that are Nick Saban's? I said whenever when he retired, probably since they gave him an office there at the stadium, I'm like, it's probably going to be like at Buckingham Palace. They're going to raise a flag when Nick Saban's on campus and lower it when he's not. It's
100%.
It's crazy, man. Well, all right.
100%.
All right. So this has been fantastic, John. How do people follow you, get in touch if they're interested in what we've talked about and they want to check out RebelHealth? What's the best way to keep up with you, man?
Sure. The best way to reach me is on Twitter or x.com/John Goldman. That's it. I'm on there. That's my homepage, my home spot for social media. Reach out there, DM me. DMs are open. Follow along with Project Unreasonable, which is my quest to qualify for Boston at age 50. You can also go to rebelhealthalliance.io, rebelhealthalliance.io, and find our website there. But you know what? I love talking to our members. I love talking to prospective members. Come on to Twitter and hit me up with a DM, and I'll talk you through the whole thing.
John, this has been absolute blast, brother. I'm so glad we crossed paths. And hey, I'm gonna be in DC soon, so let's connect. I'd love that.
Oh, 100%. Please hit me up.
All right, brother.
We'll go out with our mutual friend downtown.
I would love it. Deal, man. Okay, folks, thank you so much for listening. He's John. I'm Jason. We're out. Here's to your health.
The content provided in this podcast, The Healthy CEO, is for informational and educational purposes only and is not intended as a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. The opinions expressed by our hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Healthy CEO. Any information provided by our hosts or guests, including any physicians who may appear on the podcast, is solely for informational purposes and does not create any doctor-patient relationship. Listeners are advised to consult with their healthcare providers before making any changes to their health routines. The Healthy CEO and its affiliates assume no responsibility or liability for any consequence resulting directly or indirectly from any action or inaction you take based on the information provided in this podcast.